minutes, so let's go through it. Here we go.
Every angle. And while I came here today to witness a movement led by young people just like me, I also came to talk about how this issue has a disproportionate effect on the people of color in our communities. We need to talk about how gun violence is often a daily occurrence for young Black and brown people in our communities and all over the world.
Okay, first of all, my outfit is just so lefty. I have this huge afro, which I like pulled back into like this afro mohawk. I've got the artsy pants on. Who did I think I was? I honestly think that I thought I was Angela Davis at this ripe age of, I believe, 16 when this happened. Wasn't March for Our Lives about 2016, I think?
That sounds right. You know,
that sounds right.
The words that come to mind in watching this is something we say a lot when we look at a lot of these woke TikToks or maybe like a Joy Reid rant or something when they're completely wrong. But we say, it's the confidence for me. It's the confidence for me. Watching you, you are so confident.
I really am. And it's because I was constantly being told by people, this is what you need to do. You're doing the right thing. We need voices like yours. Nobody's going to listen to us, so they need to listen to you. And I thought, yes, I don't need to understand the world. I need to change the world, and I need to transform it. And that's what I did. Now, it's funny because sometimes when I go back and listen to myself, or I go back and look at old things that I wrote as a leftist, you know how when somebody's talking to you and you're like, you're almost there. You're almost there, but, and then they just jump off the cliff and they're completely wrong. What I just said there is that Black people and young Black and brown people in America are far more likely to be impacted by gun violence in this country. A completely and utterly true statement, what I just said. But am I giving it with the right connotation? Am I giving it with the right facts and the right narrative here? No, I'm talking about this in reference to white shooters of Black people. I'm talking about this when it comes to police officers, when I should be focusing on, you know, what we call now Black on Black crime. And eventually we'll have to take a deep dive into that in another episode. I talked about that a little bit in my policing episode. If you guys want to go back and watch that, it'll be the video right before this on this channel, where we talk about really the disparate impact with gun violence when it comes to Black on Black crime and Black police encounters. Okay, I'm gonna keep watching this. Oh my gosh.
They look no different than me, and they live in neighborhoods no different than my own. We need to talk about how people of color are much more likely to lose their lives staring down the barrel of a gun.
Again, true, but largely incorrect.
We need to talk about how this has been a problem for people of color for generations and generations.
Not quite. Not quite. Actually, the recent really big growth in gun violence is not past generations and generations. And you'll find that people on the left love to use this as a talking point. The disparate impact of gun violence has been generations and generations. The disparate impact of mass incarceration has been generations and generations. The socioeconomic decline of the Black family is generations and generations. And then you look into it and you go, ooh, no, it isn't, because actually the Black family was going through sort of this golden age before we instituted this welfare state and started having these conversations around what it means to be Black and identifying Blackness and talking about racism and all these things that sort of draw our attention away from real problems. So, oh, yikes, here we go.
And in the case of the Parkland shooting and many before it, we need to talk about how shooters of white backgrounds are referred to as children, former students, mentally ill individuals, and lonely and confused rather than what they actually are, and that is terrorists.
It's the confidence for me. Oh my gosh, I almost want to cry watching this. You know, a lot of people say, like, you're such a liar, you were never a leftist. And you know what? I wish I was lying, and I wish I did not have video evidence of this happening in my life. Okay, let's talk about what I just said. So I said, so often in the case of mass shooters, we talk about how we call them kids, we call them former students, we call them mentally ill, we call them lonely and confused, instead of calling them what they actually are, terrorists. Again, this is not an argument. And it would have been I wish somebody had just grabbed me and been like, you know what, you can be all of those things at once, and actually not focusing on the mental health aspect of it, not focusing on that lonely and confused part of it is actually going to cause more of these things to occur. And as I've gotten older, obviously, and looked into these issues, mental health, things like being on SSRIs, antidepressants, and things like that are closely linked to whether or not you commit mass shootings. And that's something that nobody wants to talk about when we have these discussions. Clearly, I did not want to talk about that at 16. I was so focused on what is just plain to see, what is just right in front of the face. And what is right in front of the face is race and gender. So if I saw somebody who was white and male, I had already made up my mind. That was in the case of police officers and average everyday people. That was in the case of mass shooters. If you were white and male, I was done with you. I already had my narrative. I had my talking points. And obviously this is clear to that. But what shows here is how the ideas that I was given as a young person truly ramped themselves up and came to the forefront as I got older and older and older. Because when I was young, even a little kid, before I knew anything about politics, I was being told that when I went to the grocery store with my mother in my white rural area, that white people would look at me and my mom and give us bad looks. And when I asked, well, why would somebody give me and my mom a bad look? I'm just with my mom in the grocery store. I'm picking up some apples and putting them in the cart. What's going on? And I would be told that it was because I was black and my mom was white, and white people did not think that we should be paired together, did not think that my mom should have married a black man and had a black child. So learn that at 5, 6 years old, and then check back in with that person when they're 16, 17, and into their early 20s. Are we shocked that I turned out like this at that age? Shouldn't be. Let's keep watching.
The rate of death by gun homicide for black and brown people exceeds those among white people in all 50 states.
Why?
We need to start to mend this disparity by declaring all gun violence unacceptable and recognizing the fact that this nation's criminal justice system is based on racism and systemic oppression.
What a non sequitur argument. I don't even know how to debunk that because it makes no sense. Oh my gosh.
The same system that allowed a police officer to shoot Stephen Clark 20 times in his backyard a few days ago.
Woo! Getting shot 20 times! Woo! Keep going.
The people cheering for you is really, that's just as strong a thing as anything, that it's the reinforcement of, it's like, not only are you given these simplistic narratives, like you were saying, it's like literally skin deep narratives about how to interpret the world and how to interpret your own identity, but then you link up with people who are championing that and patting you on the back the more that you just puppet these talking points, even if they don't make sense, which is the crazy part.
Right. And this was a crowd of thousands and thousands of people. I wish the camera had panned over to show you how many people were listening to this and watching and cheering this on. Unbelievable.
The same system that sends people of color to prison for 10% longer sentences than white people for the same crime.
It failed to mention why in those studies that talk about sentencing and that disparate impact on black people do not look at why that's the case, whether or not the person was a repeat offender, how many people were put in danger during the incident, how many people could have died, what weapon was used during the incident, how violent the crime was. Yet they go and they put out these things like, I believe now the stat is that black people get 20% higher sentences than white people for the same crime. And again, no mention to why these things happen.
Same system that mentally evaluated Dylan Roof, a white shooter who took 9 black lives as they prayed, not once, but twice, even though he said many times that he knew exactly what he was doing. This is unacceptable and needs to be addressed, because where is the justice in this system? And where is the justice in this nation's gun control legislation? We need to seize this moment and this power, not only for school safety, but for everyone's safety. We should feel safe wherever we are, whoever we are. And we will march on these streets today polls.
I could not even vote.
You're going to walk them straight up to the poll center and then be like, all right, now you guys go in and vote. I'm going to stay out here and keep screaming at people.
Right. See you guys. This is your polling site. Go ahead in there and make some changes, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Okay, I think we're almost done here. Let's finish it up. Oh, my gosh.
We all need change, and we need it now, not later, now.
Woo, I think that's it. Wow. A whole lot of nothing was said there, yet cheered on